So, in order for you to understand the context, when you walk into an organization, you need to have a different level of awareness. In other words, I would say you have to develop this sense of awareness, this radar within yourself. And I'm going to teach you what that is all about, right? You should be able to read people, read signs of what is happening within the organization, right? Understanding what's going on, understanding how people are organized, how people work with each other, what systems and processes are being used, how are they being used, how things are being shared amongst people. So all of that is very essential. And those people, especially you are working with, you have to know them in and out. You have to be able to establish relationships with them so you understand them at a much deeper level. It is very essential for you to perform well as a consultant and to alter your approaches based on those people, and whatever is going on with the organization as you work on that assignment. So, in terms of awareness, there's 3 levels of awareness that you have to develop. First is the organizational level, right? The organizational awareness. What is the organization all about? Right? And we'll look at each of these. The second type of awareness that you must develop is the situational awareness. In any given situation, you should be able to read people who are in that situation, how people are reacting within that situation. Why are they reacting that way? What is causing them to react in a certain way? And the third awareness is the behavioral awareness. This is where you will develop a deeper understanding of each and every person you work with. You need to understand how they behave and why they behave in a certain way, and how they will behave in which situation. Right? So combining the 3, what is happening within the organization, how people are organized, what is the culture of that organization. Second is the situational awareness. If anything happens within the organization, how are people generally reacting? And then the third is individual level. How is this person generally, when everything goes well, how is this person behaving in a certain situation? Why are they behaving in that way? Right? What is making them to behave in a certain way? So that's that deeper level of connection. Do you remember the human organization triangle that we saw last time? What are the 3 levels of organization?
Enterprise.
Yes.
Enterprise. I think people, enterprise, and organization.
Right. So enterprise is at the top. Then what? Management, leadership. Then you have the individual level.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this awareness triangle, it fits into that as well. So this is those 3 different levels you think about. So let's look at these. So organizational level, right? Organizational awareness. Like I said, you have to understand how the organization operates, what kind of politics goes on within the organization. Like, how are usually people behaving within the organization? What kind of culture do they have within the organization? Is it open culture? Is it restricted? Is it highly structured? Meaning top down. What kind of politics goes around between people? And this is something that is not going to be available to you. You have to figure this out, because these will be the constraints that will prevent you from succeeding in your assignment. That's why this is essential. If you're working with 2 different teams or maybe multiple teams, you have to understand how those teams interact with each other. What is the relationship between those teams? Are they competitive or are they aligned? Right? All of these things we have to understand. What limitations do people have within the organization? Like I said, What is their boundary? What are their roles, responsibilities? What is their boundary? What can they do? What cannot, what can they not do? Do they have freedom to do things in the organization? Do they have freedom to experiment? Is there openness? Is there transparency? What is the value like? And also at a performance level, is the organization currently going through a major transformation like a reorg or maybe a merger with some other company? Are they downsizing? What's happening at the organization level? So that's that developing a deeper understanding of the client organization as a whole when you walk into. And having an awareness of that will help you to change your approaches or to plan your delivery in a way that you can circumvent all of these constraints. Right? So again, this is a very intellectual sport that we are playing. Right? That's why this is very essential to know how the client organization is.
What's the red tape here?
Sorry, say that again.
The red tape.
Red tape is again boundaries, right?
Ah, okay.
Like our processes, how like sometimes they might say, oh, we are a very open organization, we have a very open culture. But sometimes an employee can only do as much, right? But they always have to go and get an approval from a higher authority, or there's certain constraints, right? So red tape is implementing process for the sake of implementing a process. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of control. That's what I mean, right? Red tape and control. Okay, so what's going on in the client organization that might have an impact on yourself, your performance, your delivery, or your stakeholders? This is very essential to understand. This is the first thing you got to figure out. So that's the first level of awareness you develop. The second, so situational, is what happens when something is happening within the organization. Situational is, it could also mean that when you're working with people, they have their own deadlines. They are into too many things they're responsible for. They have a time crunch. They have deadlines that they have to meet, right? And they're always, like I said, again, this goes back to the culture as well. They're always in that firefighting or reactive mode, right? And they're scrutinized for their performance on certain things. They're often being judged. They are always like closed. So this is how people kind of react on a certain situation, right? You have to understand the situation. And then accordingly, when you work with people, you have to be able to plan your delivery in such a way that you don't get them to work with you when they are in a certain situation. Right? You always have to have that in mind. You have to plan things around them, right? And not the other way around. So having an understanding of the situation is also very essential. So what's going on in their world, in other words, right? That has created them this unrest, right? In a particular situation, or there's maybe some kind of a situation that is going on right now, or they are in a situation because of something that happened. So all of that, understanding that is essential. The third one is the behavioral. This is at an individual level, right? I've worked with clients who go partying all night and they come back to work the next day. They're very, sober, right? So I wouldn't set up meetings or I wouldn't reach out to them in the morning because I know that they're still, they're not at their best, right? So I set up meetings in the evenings or late afternoons. Some people also behave, they're very short tempered, or some people are very attention seeking. They have their own tantrums, that they throw because they want to feel important and you're not giving them, what they need. All of that is at an individual level. You have to be able to understand how they are as a person and how they behave. generally. So what makes them behave in a certain way is what you have to understand. So if you understand these three levels, it's going to help you to really maneuver any kind of constraints that you might come across, or even issues that you might come across. You should be able to handle them effectively if you start understanding these. And this is a awareness that you will have throughout your engagement. It's not going to be a one-time activity, right? There's no way you're going to figure out this in a week or 10 days. This is going to happen throughout your engagement term. Okay, so this is ideally something that you would do along with delivering your core services, which are your technical services. Any questions on this? Levels of awareness. Now, if you apply this at your home, in your personal life, how do you relate organizational awareness to your home?
I think you are in the home with other people.
Mm-hmm.
The family is more like an organization.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to understand the values. First, the values of the family, the things that they believe in.
Yeah.
You have to know how the family does their things.
Yeah.
Probably the food they eat, what makes them happy, the various compositions in the family, who behaves in whichever way. So I think that's how you can apply to the family.
Yeah. So this is everything about the people, their processes, the things they use, right? The technologies, like everything in the household, right? That becomes a part of the organization. So if I'm going to come into your families and stay with you for a period of 2 years or 3 years, I have to know all of that. Only then I can stay there. Otherwise, just imagine the kind of conflicts we will have. That's why this is essential, right? What about situational? How will you apply that in your family?
You can apply situational by understanding what people in the family are going through.
Yeah.
Maybe what the husband is doing. Maybe he is having a situation at work. You need to understand that.
Yeah.
Or what the kids are doing at school. Maybe if you want a kid who is suddenly, I don't know, having low grades, you want to understand all that. Maybe, or a kid who is bullied at school and at home will be grumpy, or I don't know. You need to understand all of that. The situation they are living in.
Yeah, that's perfect. And what about behavioral? How would you apply that in your family?
I think basically you have to understand how they kind of react, or how they, so in certain situations, how they react to it.
Yeah. So behavioral is more of an individual, right?
Yeah.
Understanding of individuals. So if I come into your house, if your household has 4 members living, behavioral is I develop an understanding of each of you people in the household. I will know your likes, dislikes, how you behave, what you hate, right? How you would react if I say something, what makes you react in a certain way. So I will understand each of you individually. And then at an organizational level, I will understand what is the team dynamics or the organization, the dynamics within the home, right? How's your culture, right? As a group, how do you operate? What are the different things you do? As a situational, what is going on in your lives? And how is that affecting you as an organization together, right? So relating this to the home environment will really help us understand the different dynamics that you will face as a consultant, right? And Imagine I come into your house and I say, you're not doing this right. You have to do this way or a certain way. How would you feel?
I'll ask myself who the person is to tell me that. And what is the base of his reasoning?
You think like, who's this person coming and telling me how to live in my own house, right?
Yeah.
This is exactly the same way people will feel when you walk in to an organization as a consultant. Because you're going in there to change things they have been doing for years. You will naturally come across all kinds of resistance because they are afraid that you will go in there, change things up, make their life difficult, or some might even be afraid that they might lose jobs because you're changing a lot of things. Or some might have been comfortable doing what they are doing or doing very little of what they are supposed to do. They've been doing that for years, and now you're coming and changing things. That's going to add more work for them, right? That's going to make their life difficult. So how do you think people react to you?
I think generally people wouldn't be fans of consultants. They won't really like consultants. One, because consultants basically kind of point out errors. And naturally, people are not comfortable, or they don't like the idea of being told what to do or being told that what they've been doing is not the right thing.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So there will always be that resistance.
Yeah. So what if you develop an understanding of this 3 levels of awareness? What if you have this?
Yeah, it informs your approach.
Yeah.
How you are going to deal with them, how you are going to relate.
Yeah.
In a respectful manner.
Yeah.
Asking the right questions without provoking them into pushing them away from you. So you don't go and then you are more like, I'm the guy who knows everything. So I'm here and then everybody must stop and listen to me. But you also want to go and then engage them, know how they think.
Yeah.
Why they are even making the mistakes that they are making before you come in with the solutions that you want to give them.
Yeah. So if I come into your house, Fakwa, and if I figure out at an organization level, your wife is probably making all the decisions, or your wife is a major influencer, right? If I want to implement something or change something within your household, I would go to your wife. So I would develop a good relationship with your wife and influence her to change a certain thing.
Right.
Right. Because I would have developed a behavioral awareness. I know how she is as a person, how she reacts. And I know that she's the decision maker in the household. Right. So if I want to implement something, I go to her. I would advise her. Again, those different activities we saw, I would do that with her to influence my way of thinking and the changes that I want to bring about. Okay. Now, are you understanding why this is important?
Yes.
If you don't have this, what will happen? If you don't, let's say you're not even thinking about this. You don't have this awareness. You walk into an organization as a consultant, they tell you, hey, consultant, you're appointed by the leadership. They tell you, you have to go in there and change this or implement something new. And if you don't have this awareness, what will happen?
You fail.
You can't implement anything.
Yeah.
They'll conspire against you and they'll get you kicked out. So so ultimately what happens to your credibility?
Yeah. They lose credibility. You lose your credibility because they will just think that you are useless.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. So let's say it happens in one organization. People conspire against you. They say something to leadership. They complain about you. They get you kicked out, right? And then you think, oh, this is not me. This is probably them. They're shitty people. Like, it's not an organization I want to work. And then let's say you go into another organization and you get into the same problem.
It reduces your
question.
Right?
Yeah.
Most consultants go through this. They always think it's the other person's problem because they haven't taken time to do this. Right? They're too focused on what they want to deliver. I need to get this thing done by this. And you will have to do this. If not, I will escalate. And they escalate. And what happens? Develops a bad relationship. Conflicts, ego clashes. And ultimately, it leads to if the employees within the organization complain to that leadership, and if you complain, who do you think the leadership is going to listen to?
The organization.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, they are their people.
Yeah.
Right? It is your responsibility to maneuver those kind of constraints and challenges you have. That's why they're paying you the big bucks, because they can't do it. They're saving their backs by letting somebody do their job, basically. So you're going in the trenches and doing that thing, That's why consultants, is very critical.
Okay.
Olden days, people used to hire consultants to strategize battles, right? Like they used to hire these consultants who can fight in the battles, but they also do strategies and whatnot. Troy is a good example. Remember, we saw that in module 1, right? Achilles was brought in to win the battle. People within the camp didn't like them, right? They were elites, right? They couldn't get along, but eventually they all realized that this person is stronger than them, all put together, right? That's why your role is very critical as a consultant, and this is the foundation of delivering successful consulting services.